This is Group 9, consisting of Kristen Fernandez, Alexis Mangola, and Melissa Fowler. The question we are posing is, how has coming out as homosexual in sports changed in the past 40 years when dealing with sponsors, media, and supporters? Our group decided to analyze the coming out of Gus Kenworthy, the British-born American freestyle skier from Colorado. Before we get into the analysis, we'll give you a little bit of background. Kenworthy is the youngest of 3 sons of an English mother and an American father. Kenworthy won AFP World Championships overall titles in 2011, 2012, and 2013. In 2014, he placed second at the Olympics in Russia and won his first medal, a bronze, at the X Games in France in the slopestyle event. He won the World Cup men's halfpipe in Park City, Utah in 2015, and again in 2016 in Mammoth. He finished second in 2017. He finished third in the men's slopestyle during the 2017 World Cup in Switzerland. In October 2015, Kenworthy came out as gay in an interview with ESPN. He said in a later interview with Attitude magazine that he picked to come out in ESPN because he wanted to do it in his words and once and for all, and hopefully help kids that are in the same position he was. He was in a relationship with his boyfriend Robert McDonald at the time, who was also involved in the ski industry, working in film and photography. The couple gained international media attention. The two eventually broke up after a 5-year relationship. Since 2016, he has been in a relationship with American theater and film actor and reality television personality Matthew Wilkes. Kenworthy is extremely passionate about his coming out and hopes to inspire young homosexuals to feel comfortable with themselves and continue to excel in sports. Next, we will discuss a few course concepts that we found prominent while exploring his story.
Gus Kenworthy's fears and intimidation about showing the world who he really is as a homosexual is rooted from the concept of orthodox gender ideology. Orthodox gender ideology is defined as interrelated ideas and beliefs that are widely used to define masculinity and femininity and identify people as either male or female. The term orthodox is meant to show that this view of gender represents a traditional and widely established way of thinking that people view as this unchanging truth. Dominant gender ideology is used in many societies and is organized around 3 different ideas and beliefs. The first being human beings are either male or female. The second being heterosexuality is normal and other expressions of sexual feelings, thoughts, and actions are seen as unnatural, abnormal, or immoral. And the third being men are physically stronger and more rational than women and are more naturally suited to possess power and assume leadership positions in the public spheres of society. As for Gus Kenworthy, he thought that coming out would be a negative thing for his career. He thought he would lose sponsors, fans, and even friends. When boys and men learn to accept this orthodox gender ideology, they begin to enforce restrictive and normative boundaries for heterosexual masculinity. This then promotes the belief that power and influence are legitimately linked with masculine characteristics and that existing gender boundaries are normal and natural. This then causes problems when it causes people to have these rigid, unbending ideas and beliefs about the ways that males and females are supposed to look, feel, think, and act. Further, it leads to the assumption that heterosexuality is natural and normal, and those that have an appearance or express feelings, thoughts, or actions that don't fit heterosexual male or female categories are unnatural and abnormal. This then fosters the concept of homophobia. Homophobia is generalized as a fear or intolerance of anyone who isn't clearly classifiable as a heterosexual male or female. As for Gus Kenworthy, he stated in the article, Gus Kenworthy is out proud and going for the gold by Nate Erickson, that before the Winter Olympic Games in Russia, there was a lot of LGBTQ legislation, and the team was warned not to say much about it. As for if you were a participant in the Olympics, protests during the games is against the rules and can cost your participation and/or medals. Gus stated that he felt like he was going against himself by not speaking up and sticking up for the LGBTQ community. He stated it was weighing on his conscience and he felt very burdened, and he didn't even get to appreciate the medal because he had so much going on in his own mind. Gus's goal was to encourage anybody who was in the closet to come out and to congratulate anybody who has. He stated that there's no correlation between sexuality and sport performance and capability, and the more out people that we have in sports doing well, the more we can break down the stigmas and barriers and stereotypes about homosexuality in sports.
Hand in hand with hegemonic masculinity theory, a culture of homohysteria exists. Homohysteria is the fear of being homosexualized, and in a study by Eric Anderson, who explored masculinities and sexualities in sport and physical culture, he describes 3 key factors apparent. 1. Cultural awareness that homosexuality exists as a sexual orientation. 2. High levels of homophobia within a culture. 3. The conflation of feminine behaviors in men with same-sex desires. These 3 variables may dictate men's gendered behavior. For Gus Kenworthy, these factors led him to hide his true identity. Fearing that kids would no longer idolize him, he would lose sponsors and possibly friends. This culture of homohysteria led Kenworthy to feel insecure and ashamed. However, in Anderson's study, he discussed shifting relations between masculinity and homophobia. Nearing the end of the first decade of the 20th century, studies began to reveal a rapidly decreasing level of homophobia, which gave way to Anderson's inclusive masculinity theory. The inclusive masculinity theory describes a stratification in men alongside social dynamics in a period where homohysteria culture is decreasing. Anderson concludes that as cultural homophobia diminishes, heterosexual men have the ability to act in more feminine ways that would have otherwise threatened their heterosexual identity. After Kenworthy chose to come out, he was met by many unexpected results. The fears that once plagued him in a homohysteric culture gave way, as he was met by a growing number of sponsors. It's absolutely true. I think I'm more marketable now as an athlete, Kenworthy said. Every brand is looking for diversity, and it's an important thing for brands to have diversity, more so than it's ever been. In a field where homosexuality for many men end in a career, as it did for Billie Jean King in 1981, no longer do athletes fall into a culture of don't ask, don't tell. Kenworthy fully embraces his label as the gay skier. I think it's really important to have visibility, especially in sports. It helps get rid of homophobia. I think having people in the public eye allows other people to feel more comfortable to live authentically.
The following information is all of our sources.